Happy Monday, ladies and gents. I hope you had a super weekend. We've got an exciting show planned out for you at the beautiful Park Inn by Radisson. And today's topic is on motherhood. Now, a lot of the words that you hear associated with motherhood are things like fulfilling, and that it's a blessing, and it's a beautiful journey to embark on, and that everything will come naturally to you. And that's sometimes true, but sometimes it's also exhausting, and it's terrifying, and it's confusing, and you don't know where to start. And what your expectations were of this journey aren't really the reality. And that's what we're getting into today. We're talking to three beautiful women who are mothers to 2 children and 3 children and 2 children, and they're going to tell us about their journey, the lessons they learned, and the things that they wish they knew from the very beginning. Because at some point, this is what you end up thinking, okay? Thou shalt not try me, kids. Yeah, that's what we're getting into today. But before we even move into that, I just want to share with you guys our MCM for the day. And we celebrate rapper King Kaka, who is the founder of several initiatives that touch on topical issues such as gender violence through the Dreams campaign and youth marginalization under the Tubonge Let's Talk program. Most recently, his countrywide sanitary bank initiative earned him a speaking opportunity at the 2018 Goalkeepers Conference in New York City by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Good job, King Kaka. We see what you're doing and we celebrate you for that. But for now, let's talk about motherhood and all the things that people don't actually talk about. Welcome, ladies. First of all, I love how bright we are. How are we feeling?
Awesome.
Where are our children right now? Where are they? Where are your children? Actually, because you're a food and nutrition analyst by profession, but you're a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. So where are your kids right now?
My firststborn is at school right now.
Yeah.
And my secondborn is actually, I left her at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be here. And then we've got Christine. You were named top 40 under 40 women in 2014. You're the MD of Supamamas. You've also got 2 children. Yes, I do. Where are the babies right now?
The first one is turning 9 this month.
Okay.
9 years.
Oh, wow.
He's in school, class 3. The other one, 1.5 years. He must be at home watching TV, Baby Shark, or something along those lines. Yeah, Baby Shark, you know.
Baby Shark. Those are the songs you end up learning, not these fun ones. I don't know, Drink. No, those are the ones.
Yeah.
And then Mary, you've got 3 beautiful kids. You're a working mom. In fact, after this, she was like, we've got to wrap up because I've got to go to work after. Where are your 3 kids? Your youngest is 9 months.
My youngest is 9 months.
Wow.
Currently at home.
Yeah.
Then the other 2, I have a beautiful daughter called Serena. She's in school. And Serena has a 7-year-old brother, Baraka, who's also in school at the moment. Okay.
So let's get back to pregnancy and our journeys through that. What was your expectation when it came to pregnancy? What did you think it was going to be like? Let's start with you, Elizabeth.
When it came to pregnancy, actually I was blank. I had no idea like what will this life be. You know, you see people pregnant, but yourself, will I ever get there? Yeah. How will I be? How will I feel? Yeah. I was really blank. Yeah. I had no much idea. But when I got pregnant, I really had to embrace and learn and know, get information, just get equipped with knowledge on how the pregnancy is going to be, and I had to talk to people who could advise me and tell me about it.
Okay.
Yes.
Christine, what was expectation versus reality? Was it what you thought it would be?
The first one was, I can't remember much, but it was an easy pregnancy. I remember up to month 9, I didn't even have a help. So that was an easy pregnancy. Went to hospital, gave birth. That's when I came back from the hospital, picked the help along the way and went home with the help. I had a lot of energy. Yeah. Round 2. Fatigue. By trimester 2, I was so tired, sleepy all the time. In my office, with no apologies, I would put my head down on my desk and sleep. Yeah. Like I just wanted to sleep all the time. I was hoping, you know, being a second timer, more experience, hoping for more energy and, you know, just go through it. Nothing. Yeah. Just tired.
Oh gosh. And you just, I mean, your experience is just the other day really with your 9-month-old. So how was that? Expectation versus the third time around, were you like, this one, got this?
Actually, for me, yeah, the third time around, it was a lot more easier compared to the first and second pregnancy. I actually traveled a lot with this particular pregnancy until I think the 7th or 8th month.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty easy. But the very first pregnancy for me was, I read a lot about pregnancy, talked to people a lot, and everyone's story was totally different from what I experienced.
How so?
Yeah, because I had been told, okay, first trimester will be very difficult for you, then the second trimester will be like a honeymoon, then you go back. Funny enough, it was not the same. I actually had a smooth pregnancy all through, and eventually had the baby. But now motherhood from day one was a totally different ball game.
That's the crazy part. Now, for me, one of the craziest things that I experienced was one, that it's not morning sickness, that it's any time of the day sickness, and it will last for
many months.
Yeah, for many months. And for some women, that's not the case. For me, I think up until month 8, I was still throwing up regularly, and I was like, no, I thought it was trimester 1. Yeah. Were there any other unexpected moments for you through your pregnancy journey where you were like, no one told me that this is how it was going to be? Another thing, I don't know if this is oversharing, but the boob expansion. I just couldn't understand what was going. I mean, I remember just thinking, like, we need to slow down here. It's not that serious. Baby isn't even here yet. Calm down. And like, you know, the veins and the stretch mark. I completely unexpected for me around the boobs. I didn't know that was going to come. Any other unexpected moments for you?
Yeah, like for me, during my second pregnancy, what really shocked me until up to date, I can't imagine, it was the something I was told called sciatica. Like my baby, there's this day I woke up after breakfast, had lunch. So when I was going just to wash the dishes, just standing while on the sink, and I just changed my position. And the pain I felt, I screamed and I was literally crying. I couldn't understand where it came
was
from.
it down your leg?
I couldn't move my one leg.
Were you pregnant at the time?
Yes, I was pregnant with my second born. So I started screaming and shouting. I could not understand, and I never do that. It was just out of the blue. At that point, we had to rush to the hospital because, I had never heard of such a thing, and I was in shock. We had to rush to hospital, at least get a doctor to explain what was happening.
Oh gosh. And how long was that pain lasting?
The pain went, even as we went to hospital, the pain was still there.
So are you still screaming in the car?
I had calmed down, but the pain was still persistent. It hadn't gone away.
It's those little pains. I had that too, but not as severe.
Mine, it was very severe.
What about you, Christine? What shocked you?
I am just amazed that there's a name to it. Sciatica, you call it. I thought it's called leg cramps or something. So in the middle of the night, because with my first one, I didn't experience it. In the middle of the night, must have been trimester 2 or 3. Like the way she explains it, like a pain from nowhere, like a proper sharp pain. So it's pitch dark from nowhere. I scream, and then my husband is up and is like, what is wrong? Is somebody? The drama. It happened, it didn't even happen once, like 2, 3, 4 times. So by the third time you knew, okay, scream up, massage, scream up, massage. That was one. And then like you explain, the morning sickness thing that we then assume, like with my first one, first trimester, done. But with the second one, up to month 8. That was very strange.
It's crazy. You,
For me, I think a lot of it had to do with hormonal imbalance. For my first baby, I would cry literally at everything and nothing. And with my husband, he tells me, now I need to leave the house and get into town. I would just start crying. We are in town, all of a sudden, I need to eat this. We cannot find it at the snap of a finger. I'm in tears. And then the other surprise again, no one ever told me that pregnancy would last for 10 months.
10? That is a good point, because they tell you 9 months, but it's 40 weeks, and you do the math and you wonder, what's going on? 40 weeks is 10 months. It's not 9 months. Where does that come from? It's so funny. If you look at this picture, you know, big, bulging, veiny boobs, screaming woman, wake up, scream, massage at night, constant crying randomly. Pregnancy is so different for different women.
I have one more.
One more. Okay, let's hear that.
Memory loss.
Oh, yes. And I thought that was a fake thing. I thought it was just an excuse, but it happens.
I go to my car. I'm from picking a document.
Yeah.
I get into my car. I open the door. I put my stuff in.
Yeah.
So when I'd opened the door the first time, I'd put my phone on top of the car.
Oh, gosh.
So then I close all the doors. I get into the car. I start driving. Get onto Langata Road. Then I remember I always put my phone on the center console.
Yeah.
I'm there, how come I can't see my phone?
Yeah.
Then I remember, oh my God, my phone was on top. My iPhone was on top of the car roof.
Take heart.
And that is how it flew away.
So funny. Oh no, the things that happened to me quite a bit. Now, let's get into birthing. I remember my mom saying how, you know, the first time she got pregnant, she didn't really know how painful is it really. The second time, she cried when she found out she was pregnant. She started crying. She was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm panicking. So no, and so I mean, all I knew was that it's this painful experience. Was it as painful as they say it is, Elizabeth?
Yeah, for me, actually, I didn't expect. I never had much guidance and you know, during like what will happen during birth.
Yeah.
So even when I got to the hospital,
Yeah.
at first I thought like, why are women screaming? What is happening? Yeah. Will I do the same? Will I scream? Will I be calm? What is
Right.
happening? Yeah. So I thought like, this is so weird. Should I call somebody and ask if people scream? Do people feel that kind of pain? Yes, I didn't know so much of that. So I really had to learn a lot at that point.
Yeah.
And just tell myself it's going to be okay.
Right.
You're going to push through.
So one of the most shocking things for me was that you get blood clots after you give birth, which if you don't know, it's not what you think. You know, a blood clot just feels like, well, it's a tiny little. No, it could be like it's something that comes out of you, almost like a second, third baby that you didn't know was there. That was one of the most shocking experiences for me. And it happened when luckily I was just at my mother's house, I'd gone to visit. But it flooded my genes. It was just a complete mess. Was there something about the birthing experience that really shocked you and you thought, why didn't anyone warn me about this? Or maybe even breastfeeding. Was that an easy journey for you?
Yeah, for me, breastfeeding, my birthing experiences have been pretty easy.
Really?
Yeah. Baby number one.
4,
Should get him. Oh,
Yeah,
we're not having this discussion. But breastfeeding, you know, at the back of my mind, I had imagined that this would come in so naturally. Like I would just hold my baby and she'd be able to latch.
like in
and
the pictures.
yes.
Beautiful.
First time round, it was a struggle. Second time round, it was a struggle. Even the third time around, it was a struggle.
Was it painful?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that I thought was quite shocking, and it's not something that a lot of women openly talk about, that it can get really, really painful. So how did you navigate that?
For me, it took a lot of training while I was still at the hospital. So I had to get the nurses every other day. Then I latch the baby and they keep on lifting my hand. Like, you know what? The baby's tummy should be lying against your own tummy. And so there was that training. And then I had to get the nipple cream. I don't know why, for some reason I had never thought about this, especially with baby number 1. But by the time I was going baby number 2 and 3, I packed my nipple cream as part of my hospital bag.
Yeah, that was clever.
Together with the breast pump. And a story for some other day. But anyway, now, of course, a lot of help from the nurses while still at the hospital, even before I left for home. And then the nipple cream. And as they say, for sure, positioning. As in, you need to prop yourself, go ahead and do it, or else it will just be nightmare one after another. And then if you're like me, you'll just keep on crying and
Release, find your own release. Was there anything shocking about that experience, whether it's the birthing or breastfeeding, that you struggled with, Christine?
Baby number 1, breastfeeding for sure. I can never forget that day. The moment when I put my son on the boob, for me it was like putting a vacuum cleaner on. Like that suction is something out of this world. Like the first it is, and then it becomes painful. You don't know about positions, and it's the first time even hearing the word latching. It's some technical term. It was just painful. And then the sores, of course, becoming friends with the creams. It was tough round 1, but round 2 was much better. Was much better.
But, you know, again, the other thing is that As you get to hospital, you assume that immediately the baby pops out, your milk will start flowing.
Right. Yeah.
For day 1, there's no milk. Day 2, you actually start getting frustrated because the
And
baby
that makes it worse. The stress makes it worse. But yeah, you often assume that it's just a natural way of life. Another thing that often came up was, it's okay, you'll just know what to do. It's just natural. It'll come to you. And I'm like, how does it come? What does that even mean? It'll come to you in those first few moments, and you start to wonder, am I really? Are you really going to trust me to leave this hospital with this baby? Now we have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll get into how did it actually go when these women left the hospital with their babies. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. I've been chatting to these 3 incredible women, Elizabeth, Christine, and Mary, about their children and their birthing experience, their pregnancy. And now we want to get into the stage where you now walked out of the hospital with your babies and you were told it's a natural thing, you know what to do, it's a mother's instinct, go with it. How was that for you? Was it really as natural as it's supposed to be, or was the reality just worlds apart? Christine, why don't you go first? Why don't you go first?
Coming out of the hospital, the reality, having a newborn at home. In the movies, they sleep, they look like they're beautiful, and they sleep, and somebody breastfeeds them, and they're still sleeping. My goodness. It's like something, their clock is different from ours.
Yeah.
The nights are long and tiresome, and you have to wake up to breastfeed. And for me, your life is not your own.
How did you cope with those few months where the sleep pattern is completely different? Did you at some point feel like you were actually going to go crazy, or did you find
So what I did, I really thank the person who invented the breast pump.
Oh, breast pump. Okay.
So pump. So then get my partner to help, like one night shift in the, do at least one shift, just one shift. And then you're able to get some rest. But the nights are pretty different from when you don't have a baby. I missed my sleep. I really missed my sleep.
And you, Elizabeth, how was that for you?
It was quite different. Things really changed. I didn't expect to be up almost the whole night, breastfeeding, having to deal with the baby crying and all that. It was pretty hard. But I really had to adjust as the days went by. And I really had to accept, like, this is the situation. You have to deal with it. You have to find ways to deal with it and accept the way it is, and at least find comfort in it. It's reality.
Like, come back, go back in.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Like, let's rewind. Was it a natural experience for you, those first few months with the baby? Did you find that indeed some things came naturally to you and you understood how to handle your newborn, Mary?
Yeah,
especially the first time. The second and third,
you learn the tricks of the trade. Some things came naturally. Like, for instance, the verbal communication between you and the baby. When the baby cries, you're able to tell, now this time round, it's the diaper that needs to be changed. Yeah, that came naturally. Adjusting to the baby's pattern for me also came in a bit naturally, but the fatigue was overwhelming. Yeah.
So how did you deal with that? And did you ever talk to someone and have a moment where you were like, honestly, I can't do it. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing my mind. Did you find that it was easy to open up to the people around you about this?
For baby number 1, I opened up to my husband. In the worst scenario, I was heavily tired, fatigued. He was not. And he still expected me to sort him out on some duties within the home. So there's this one time he asked me to get him some drinking water. I literally shoved a glass across the table. And he couldn't understand. He was like, I just asked for some drinking water. Then I just broke down. I was like, I'm tired, So I ranted. And then for a while, he was like, but you've never asked for help. And then, you think, like, you should have also noticed that I needed help.
Did you,
so we had the conversation then.
Did you feel the pressure to keep up appearances, like everything is fine, like it's all good, I know what I'm doing, it's baby number 1, baby number 2, I've got it covered, I have my home covered, I have work covered, I have visitors, everything is neat and tight? Did you feel that pressure, or were you just like, me personally, not going to bother?
I think for me, it's even worse because being the mother of mothers, a Supamama, baby number 2, running my own business, I was telling Mary when we were having a conversation, I was back to work when Oli was 7 weeks.
Wow. Was that something you wanted or you had to go back to?
One, I have very high personal standards. With baby number 1, I don't remember really asking for help. I just had it together. Yeah. In a way, I have a way of doing my things in a way, I just see the whole picture,
yeah.
I get it done.
Yeah.
Baby number 2, by the time I was doing my December event, I was 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
7 weeks later, I'm doing another event, and I remember waking up, eyes wide, of course you haven't slept well at night, boobs properly, Dolly Parton, properly filled and painful, up by around 5 something, out of the house, going to do whatever I need to do. After that event, a few weeks later, I said, you know what, it's never that serious. Yeah. Just took a break. Yeah. And I think it's important for women to, especially moms, new moms, to give themselves permission to say, you know what, let me take a break, let me ask for help.
Right.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I can only do so much.
Did any of your relationships change? Any, whether it's work, friends, partners, spouse, did any relationships change after children? Or did you find that it was a continuous, smooth transition? Elizabeth?
I didn't find or felt like any relationship really changed. But of course, with my husband, things got quite a little bit tough. You know, you'll spend most time together, but at this point, you could spend less time together. So you'll find yourself, you're mostly maybe in the house, taking care of the kids. If it's going to work, coming back, it's the kids. So the time between us was a bit strange. We could not spend much time. But when it came to my friends and my workmates, everything else was balanced when it came to them. Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine saying that one of the most shocking parts of that journey, pregnancy, motherhood, was the number of friends she ended up losing and how she was very comfortable with it. She was like, oh, this isn't going to be a competition between how come you didn't come, how come you didn't respond, how come you didn't invite me over. It's not that. And that gave me peace, and it almost gave, I anticipated that there might be a shift. It may happen, it may not happen. Did you find that with your circle of friends that things started to change at all?
Not really. Thankfully, my circle of friends, most of them are moms, so very understanding, I suppose.
Did you select those circles? Did you find yourself being friends with more mothers and...
I have a very, very small circle.
Okay.
Very small circle. I think it works better that way.
Yeah, so there's no extra drama, weight, and all that. What about work? Did any of your, whether it's relationships with employees, you run your own business, but how did you then balance between being a mom and still being a boss?
What I'm lucky to have, or the space I'm in is actually all about motherhood.
Supamamas.
So that helps a lot. What I was worried about is with having baby number 2, if my corporate partners will understand how slow it has become. So that was a worry for me. But everything worked out okay. Everything worked out okay. Yeah.
Mary, any changes, relationship
My
changes?
experience was totally different from both of theirs. Within my circle of friends, I think I was amongst the first to actually have a baby. And we were used to, like partying. We have
come here,
activities
you show up.
Exactly. So after I got the baby, of course, I had to slow down and give attention to the baby. So my friends would call me like for a gig, and I'm like, I'm not able to make it the first, the second time. Then at some point they just stopped calling because I also understand them. Possibly they just assumed my answer would be like a definite no. We'll probably meet the next time. Then I also just started realizing our goals at that particular time were a bit more different. My mind would now gear towards, okay, so am I getting an education policy for my daughter? While my pals are thinking, okay, so can we do a vacation to Mombasa? So over time that slipped. And I think I started associating more with other moms because I'd need to like ask someone. Colic was a nightmare to me. So I'd need to call someone to find out, okay, so what do I do about colic? I'd
Yeah.
probably reach out to a mom.
Yeah.
I'll call her tonight, try out this. The next day I'll still call her. So I ended up having more of mom friends. And some of my relationships with my pals slipped off naturally. And again, I'm also as comfortable as you say in your pal was. I was comfortable with that because I told myself, you know what, this is a phase.
Yeah.
And if these friends cannot understand that this is a phase that I'm going through and a phase that I want to honor, then we really have no business
being friends.
Exactly. I hear you. And I think if they love and understand you, they'll be a part of that journey in their own way. So instead of saying, come out, come on, you're so boring, they'll come over, you know? And exactly. And let's just, you know, hang out, take it easy. Now let's talk about work and motherhood. Now I know you are a food and nutritionist analyst, but then you made the decision to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, which by every mean, in every way is a job, and I think it's perhaps the toughest job. If I am to line up all the things that take the most out of me, motherhood is the one that for sure it takes a lot. Was that a difficult decision for you, or was it very natural?
It came as a difficult decision because at some point you look at it like, okay, I really need to move along in life. I need to endeavor in my professional development. But at the same time, you look at those kids and you're like, I really have to be there for them. So you're like, do I have to juggle? Do I have to stay at home and just sacrifice one and do one? Because in life, you know, there are many balls you have to juggle. So like, there are some balls like you can't let them fall down. Like they have to stay here. So things like family, they come first. So kids, they come first.
So for you, felt at your core that this was the right thing to do, and it was your. I completely understand. And you, Christine, how did you balance? I mean, at 7 weeks, you were, you know, going out to put this event together, breast engorged, and you're just out there working. Did you struggle with that, and did you find a balance? Because if so, can you tell me what it is?
She said something, Elizabeth has said something. She said family comes first. For career women, all of us are career women. It's a tough balance to even voice it that I love my job. Like I really, really love my job. I am not saying I love my job more than my children or my family, but I really love what I do. So for me, being self-employed means I'm able to work around the hours and be a bit flexible. But being self-employed actually means you work more hours. Everybody says, I want to do my own gig and be my own boss, but it takes a lot of hours and a lot of work out of you. You're not sleeping well, baby's crying, you have to balance that, you have to do your proposals, you have to do your venues and all these things with this newborn. And an 8-year-old. I came to a point where I said, as long as I'm doing my best, it is okay. Striking a balance will never be, most likely will never be possible. But I'm not ashamed to say I love my job and I love my children just as much, and all of them are equally important.
And it's important for you as Christine to flourish and to be the best version of you. In fact, earlier when we were chatting before the show, you said that it's not actually work-life balance, it's work-life choices, right? You tell me about that, Mary. How soon after did you go back to work?
In fact, with the last baby, I reported back. I was telling Christine when the baby was 8 weeks old. She's 9 months today. Here we are.
Wow. Okay. And was that your choice, or?
It was not really my choice. I got interviewed for this particular role when I was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, so when I was even called for the interview, I informed them that I'm heavily expectant.
They must have been like shocked she wasn't joking.
Yeah, exactly.
She really is about to give birth.
I walked in with my tummy here and sat at that interview table, and I'm glad I must have impressed them. I mean, so they were willing to wait for me for 2 months before I could actually report. And even when I reported, I started on flexi time.
Oh, good.
So anyway, over time, what I've always done in my journey, in my career journey, is that I tend to negotiate a lot with my employer.
That's nice.
I tend to negotiate a lot. I negotiate for flexi time. I do not work over the weekends. I leave the office at 5 on the snooze. Everyone else knows that. They'll always tell you, if you need to get anything from Mary, make sure you get it before 5. And I'm fine with that, yeah? So I keep on negotiating each and every other time for terms that are suitable for my family. I remember when my daughter was in class 3 and 4, okay, she feeds poorly, yeah? And she had just changed school, so I needed to help her with that transition. I used to leave the office at 12:30 promptly, walk over to her school, have lunch with her, and come back.
Wow.
Wow.
And it was no secret.
And you're telling me mothers are not heroes in their own right. Look at that.
Secret.
Yeah.
During one of the meetings that we actually had, like a serious board meeting, and the session was ongoing, I was also just going on and on and on. My MD paused at 12:30 and asked, Mary, isn't it time for you to go to school and have lunch with your daughter?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
That's
I love
wonderful.
that you made it very clear what your boundaries are. And I think that's part of making sure that you do not go insane in trying to juggle everything. You know your boundaries, you let everyone else know your boundaries, so there's no one crossing that line. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get into the G word. That's guilt. And if you guys have ever felt like, now I've messed up. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. We've been chatting about motherhood. I feel like I'm talking to my girls, Elizabeth, Mary, and Christine, and we're just being very honest about some of the things that we've struggled with, or some of the things that they've experienced and learned about themselves and about their roles as mothers. But now, it's the G word I want us to get into, that being guilt. And that's something that I used to hear about, like, oh, mothers experience a lot of guilt. And I'm like, well, you just need to not feel guilty. What's the big deal? But it's not that simple. So, Mary, let's start with you. First, have you even experienced guilt? Because maybe I'm just imposing that on you and you're like, no, actually, I don't at all.
I wish I would deny that. I've experienced guilt like several times.
Yeah. In what ways?
I remember the most recent one. My son had a sports day in school and I couldn't get a day off. So I called my brother and told him, please just go to school, be there for Baraka, buy him snacks.
Yeah.
He'll be very happy.
Yeah.
So my brother actually went to school. Then at some point when I called, I'm like, I'm checking on you people, so how is it going on? He goes like, Baraka just won a medal. And guess what? He's actually position 1. The parents to the boy who was position 2 and 3 were actually there. But Baraka's mom was not there.
Yeah.
The entire afternoon I was in pain. I was thinking, oh no, I should have been there. I should have been there. That is just one instance. The other instances, you see these nights when you're really, really fatigued.
Yeah.
And you're toying with the idea of, will I get out of bed and change the baby's diaper or will I not?
Right.
So you toy with that idea until you actually eventually go back and sleep. Then the next day when you wake up, you look at the diaper, you are like,
I should have.
I should have.
Yeah.
I should have.
Yeah. Thank you for being honest about that, because that's something that a lot of women don't really confess, or the moments where you snap. And you know in your heart you shouldn't have shouted or just snapped at your child, but you end up doing it because you're tired, because you're trying to balance all these things. And so how do you then deal with the guilt? Christine, have you experienced it, and how do you deal with it?
I think all of us have a level in different ways. Yeah. We have that mom guilt. I choose to deal with it by creating my own space. So how I do it, I like to run. So I started this thing of choosing different marathons across the region, across the world, and just traveling to run.
Yeah.
So my young one, Oli, was, he must have been maybe 6-7 months. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to run in Tanzania.
Wow.
Small boy, I left him at home, and I'm thinking of, with a help, not even 3 months old in the home. And I said, you know what, if I don't do these things for myself, nobody will ever give me time off for myself. And if I'm not feeling awesome as a mom, that translates into snapping and, you know, definitely yelling at the kids. And I don't deal with it anymore. If I need to do something for myself, I do it for myself.
How did you come to that place? Because that's, I think, what a lot of women struggle with. Understanding that it's okay. And you know what? I, as Christine, have decided I'm going for this marathon. And I will go. And I will do so and not feel guilty at all. How did you come to that place? Were there certain things or practices or books that you read that made you feel that I am worthy of taking time out for me?
What I've done over the years, I've really invested in my inner self. It might sound a bit...
Yeah. No, I love that. That's when I get excited, because I'm just like, tell me what you did. Let's learn.
One, I love to read a lot. You know, you are inspiring women, you are Michelle's, any inspiring mom you can think of. And for me, somebody like Michelle is almost like a total mom. You see her as a mom, as a professional, as an active person in the gym, and I'm thinking, if they can do it, why can't I try my own idea of my own, creating my own balance? So then I said, if I'm going to give my kids quality time, what I'll do, I'll give my children, when I give them my time, I give them my time. But when I give myself my time, I will do it without any apologies. I will tell my family members, in the next 2 months, I'm traveling to, I'm not asking for permission. I am informing you. So I think that's important to get to us. How do I go to that space? You ask that question. Is getting to a point and telling myself, you know what? It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I love that. Did you ever feel like you lost yourself in your new role as a mother, Elizabeth? Did you ever have that conflict?
Yeah. No, several times you feel like things are just not right. Like, I need help. I'm not myself. Sometimes you find yourself, you rant out on the kids, and it's not proper. When you look back at it, you're like, I did not do the right thing. Now the guilt comes. Yes. So at some point, it was so bad. I remember my son was going through the terrible too. So it was so bad, and I was pregnant with my second born. So it was crazy. The next day, I just woke up and I drove out of the house, and I wasn't going anywhere. I had nowhere in mind I'm going, but I just had to leave. I just had to drive off and go.
Oh my goodness.
So while I was in the car, I drove into a petrol station and I just decided, let me just wash this car. That was never planned. It just came. Let me just drive in and wash the car. So while I was in the car wash, I told the guy, let me just sit in the car, you just wash the outside parts. Is that okay? And he was like, that is fine. So while I was inside the car, I cried my heart out completely. There was so much emotion inside, I had to cry it out, let it out completely. So after I was done, I just took my phone and I wrote a proper message to my husband. I think he was shocked when he got that message where he was. It was like, what is happening? Are you okay? I told him, just, you need to pray for me, you need to, it's bad, it's bad. I don't think I can do this. I told him, I don't think I can do this. You have to pray for me, this is so bad. So that day, it was such a crazy day. I left there, I went to town and met my friends. I was like, you don't look good. But I told them, yes, I'm not okay.
So how did you get to a place of being okay? Do you feel like you're, now you look like you're okay?
You know, after all that ranting, crying, letting out my emotion, talking at least to a friend or two about it, it made me feel better. It made me feel like I can continue with this journey. It's not something I can give up right now.
And I think you said something so important. It's talking to people and it's having these conversations, because when you're in that space by yourself, you start to think, I must be the worst mother. I left my child here. I didn't go attend this event. I can't take it anymore. They're in the terrible twos. But the minute you start talking, the minute you see, wait a second, we're all in this together. We're all struggling and trying to figure it out. So I think the conversations need to keep going. Now let's talk about our new bodies, because that's something that obviously takes place. Whether you like it or not, things shift in your body. Things aren't sitting up where they used to sit up before.
They're going south.
Things are not the same. And just like how did you make peace with with your new body? I'm assuming everyone here went through body changes, right? So how did you make peace and come to love your new body, Elizabeth?
Okay, for me it was, I didn't expect. What really made me feel like, no, this is just too bad, was the stretch marks. I couldn't get over it because I was just okay, especially by first pregnancy. It was just smooth. Then all of a sudden at 7 months, it just exploded from nowhere. So I was like, where did this come from? I didn't see it coming, it just came. And I've learned to live with it because I told myself, this is who I am. And I'm not going to change myself to be somebody else. I have to accept the way I am. I have to embrace my inner and my outer beauty. I have to dress the part, look good, and feel confident in whatever I have. So that's how I began, and I was like, we're going to take it a day at a time. A day at a time. Exactly. Let's not rush. Let's not go to the gym and work out in 24 hours and expect to be back to where we were. No, it won't work.
Christine, for you?
It will sound unfair. The only thing that grew on me was my nose.
Wow, so you were one of those women that we read about and we hear about. That was the only... Wow.
When I'm pregnant, with my first one, I just shrunk. I shrink. With my, I don't know if you carry boys, it's different. I don't know. With my second one, I was thinking, okay, being older and all that. Same thing. Just became smaller, bigger nose. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Jeans. These are the women that we don't invite to the party. We don't invite them.
And then to make it worse, like 7 weeks later, almost a 6-pack.
Wow.
Yep.
But you were working out before.
But what helps, in fact, I was coming to that, with my first baby, years of being active. I've always been running for many, many years. So by the time I was getting my first one, I mean, the body literally just snapped back. And then in between the 5, 6, 7 years, I've always been running and active. So for me, I don't run actually to keep fit, to keep fit, yes, but not remain slim. That's not my worry. For me, my running is actually an escape. An escape, you know, just away from business, away from the kids, just my nice space. And then I think the benefit is I remain trim.
That's some good advice, ladies and gents. I used to be that person who used to say, the minute I know I'm pregnant is when I'll go to the gym. That's when I'll go. So that by the time I come, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's a lifestyle and you have to keep going. Oh, wow. What about you, Mary? Were there any changes? Did you have to learn to re-love your body?
Yeah, I had to. My greatest area of concern by day has normally been my tummy. There's a point in my life when I had a really flat tummy. Then the babies happened and I'd meet people and they're like, congratulations, so when are you due?
No.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But I came to the realization that there are phases that you go through at each and every point in time. The last, for example, currently the last 6 to 7 months, my dedication was to my baby because I needed to ensure that we did exclusive breastfeeding. So whether that meant pumping in a lot of food into my body so that I could supply milk for her, I was okay with that. I go to the gym. Okay, I shouldn't be saying this on national TV. I go to the gym 3 times in a year. That is April, August, and December.
It's you and 90% of the people watching. Exactly. You and 90% of the people. Let's be honest.
Exactly. And the reason why I do this is that I'm only able to go to the gym during the period when the kids are on holiday. Because then I have a bit of some time to myself. So I go to the gym in April, August, and December. And I'm okay with that. During these other periods, as she had said, if it's my tummy, I'll learn to dress it well. And I'm okay with that because I know these are phases. My boss actually jokes about it and says, every time Mary mentions the word fries, it grows big. Even if I've not nibbled onto the fries exactly. But you need, I think for the ladies out there, we need to realize that these are phases you go through at any given time and just respect it. And then don't try and compare against someone else because your face is totally different from the other person's. I could be feeding a lot right now, trying to feed right to ensure that I provide for milk for my baby. But Christine, on the other end, possibly is not at that breastfeeding stage. So our faces are totally different.
And maybe and genes and also also we have to remember that our bodies have brought life into this world.
Absolutely.
And we need to honor them, not by self-hate and judging ourselves and being overly critical. Just do whatever you can to honor it, to feed it right, to be there, and to love your body. Now, as we close up, I just want to hear from you guys. What are some of the self-care tips and routines that you do? You just talked about running being one of them. Is there something else?
Reading.
Reading.
And then a spa date here and there. And then going out dancing.
The occasional dance.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Elizabeth?
For myself, mostly hanging out with my pals. Yeah, it's really just a good, from there I get a good laughter. It's really just, it helps a lot.
Right.
But by the time I get back home, I feel like a new me.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. And Mary?
Reading. I'm addicted to Sheryl Sandberg, Leaning, because I think she relates a lot to what we go through. And then I love throwing parties. So I'm always trying to get an excuse. Oh, we have a baby's birthday party. We have some christening here. I'm always just trying to get an activity to throw parties, so that people just sit and have a good time. And then, of course, the occasional dance here and there.
And I ask that because a lot of times we get so lost in what needs to be done. The responsibilities, change the diaper, school fees needs to be paid, so money needs to be made, and, take care of the children, feed them. And then we forget that there are things that we need to do for ourselves that just prop ourselves up and allow us to fill up our cup so that we're able to runneth over. Okay, so thank you, ladies, for being very honest and having the conversation around motherhood, pregnancy, and our expectations versus what really went down. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Hope you learned something about motherhood. If you're not pregnant and, had no clue, hope we've revealed a couple things about it. Not to scare you, but to just have open conversations about what really goes on and the struggles that mothers go through. And thank you to Parkin Radisson for allowing us to film in this beautiful spot. Weather was great, had some sunny moments, a little bit of chill, but it's a great outdoor place. And I'm gonna love you and leave you at this point in time, but make sure you're back tomorrow because we have an interesting show, 8 a.m. sharp, okay? One more thing, actually, I want to make sure that you guys are following us on social media. We've been seeing a lot of your comments, but more so we want to hear what kind of conversations that you would love to see on the show. So hit us up on Living With Us, that's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, adios, and we'll see you tomorrow.